Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, today or here, we talk about a lot of different subjects, including preparedness, what's going on in the world, things that affect us here in California, and in terms of preppers and farmers and homesteaders, and things that can affect us in general, in lots of different ways, for that matter, too. So we got a lot of stuff on the plate to talk about today. We're going to talk about AB84, kind of where that's at. And we're going to talk about Ukraine and a bunch of other stuff going on there. So we will get right into it. So thank you guys once again for joining us. We're going to try and do this, excuse me, once every week or so. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's talk about AB84. If you guys haven't tracked, turn this off. If you guys haven't been watching the news in California, or if you're not in California, they released this new law. It came out late last year, I believe, in December of 2024, that talked about basically charter schools. Now in California, it's technically illegal to homeschool. You have to create your own school, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of an oddity for sure. But what a lot of places have done specifically is they make it so where you homeschool is you're at like a charter school, basically. And then you work through the teachers and stuff, and they help you. You have a actual teacher at the school district, and then you're homeschooling them at home, basically, with their assistance. Now, what they end up doing is they give you a bunch of money every year, every semester, to pay for curriculum, do extracurriculars, things like that you wouldn't get at your normal school, right? So yes, so it's a good setup in terms of getting good education, good connection with other students, that kind of thing at the school level for the kids, right? Well, they released this new bill late last year, AB84, as you can see here. And basically what it's designed to do is call for more accountability with the state. It talks a lot about this, and I'll leave all of these links in the description and the show notes and everything afterwards. But basically, it's going to say that in order to be one of these vendors, so like for example, our kid goes to karate and they pay for her karate as a extracurricular. In order to do that, they would have to be scrutinized a lot more and be an approved vendor and all this other stuff, which they already are approved, but they'd have to go through more stringent restrictions and pass more, whatever. And most people aren't going to do that because it costs a lot of money. So they're not incentivized to stay and to help the students. So basically it'll get rid of most vendors. So like it won't pay for kids karate, wouldn't be able to do things, a lot of different things, and pay for a lot of things that we do right now for our child. So AB84 will cut that. Now, I've learned quite a bit about how bills work in California. It's super confusing, and I'm hoping to be able to get my state assemblyman Tom Lackey on the live stream or an episode to talk about it. But basically, it was introduced in December of 2024, as we can see here, and then it was passed by the Assembly this June in 2025. Now, basically, in order to pass the Assembly and or the state, it has to be read 3 times. It sounds kind of confusing because it is, but if you scroll down, oh, sorry, I had to open this earlier. You can see here where it was, this is the last votes, basically, and at the 3rd reading of every, like in the Assembly and Senate, then it gets a vote. In this case, here on June 5th, you can see the vote of yay, nay, or how they're, excuse me. I still might sneeze. We'll find out. Anywho, and then it goes from there. It'll go on to, in this case, this started in the House Assembly, and it went through all the processes there. Once it was read 3 times, it was voted on June 5th, and after it gets approved, if it does, it goes to the other house, in this case, the state Senate. Now in the state Senate, it's been read twice. It was read the second time on September 2nd, and it's due to be read a third time. Um, we don't know exactly when that's supposed to be. It says here on September 8th of this year. So what would that be? Is that Monday? Something like that, early next week at least. And and then after that, if that gets a read, they vote on it, then it goes to Governor Newsom. So it sounds like it's going to be approved. Unfortunately, it's a really big deal, and it's really unfortunate that you know that would happen because it it'll basically kill charter schools in the state of California. So that's not fun. But anywho, so that's AB84. It's kind of frustrating. It's yeah, it's a lot, unfortunately. But um that's where we're at with that. It looks like it's going to pass. It's really unfortunate, but it'll kill charter schools. We'll probably end up taking our kids out of the charter school here because the only reason we're doing it is for that extra funds, So there's no reason keeping it. But we'll keep an eye on that. Like I said, keep subscribe to the YouTube channel if you aren't, because I'm trying to get in contact with Tom Lackey, the representative for the local area, to see if we can get him on to talk about the process, and because it sure sounds confusing. Um, and then the other thing is, I'll put these in the YouTube notes. Oh, that's awesome. Is I will put on there this website, which is Find Your Representatives here, and that way you can call them, contact them. I mean, unfortunately, just because the way California is, it's probably going to pass no matter what. But I'd still encourage you to talk to your representatives. So, anywho, if y'all have any questions, you can please put that in the chat. Otherwise, um, what's going on here? Got it. Put that in the chat. Otherwise, I will move on from there. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about is, didn't mean to click on that, is not to download the Avast antivirus. Man, I hate these pop-ups. Is Trump has now renamed the Pentagon to the Department of War, and people are losing their ever-loving minds over it. I do think it's funny. So if you know the history behind this, which is kind of important, right, is that, and sorry, I'm kind of working over some allergies or something, but if you know the history of this, actually up until 1949, what we now know as the Department of Defense was actually the Department of War. And so it him renaming it to the Department of War is well, I think it's getting a lot of people riled up. Holy cow. Stop it. It's I don't want to reward. It's just bringing them back to the roots, really. It's taking it back to what it has been for the majority of the existence of us as a country. So I think it's actually kind of cool. I think it really refocuses what the Department of War now is supposed to do, and it kind of gives a new meaning to it. I'll read this. This is the summary of what I think why. It's Trump is changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War to project a stronger military image and emphasize a more aggressive approach to warfare. He believes the new name reflects a focus on winning conflicts rather than just defending against them, which he associates with a shift away from what he calls woke ideology. And I would say yes. That is a very true statement there. Unfortunately, yeah, yeah. Be careful what I say, but unfortunately, that's the truth. And I think we do need more focus on preparing ourselves because of different things that are happening in the world, Ukraine, Russia, China, all of those things. And we need to keep focused on defending ourselves, but also winning wars, not just defending ourselves. And I think that's kind of what I've read a lot of people talk about on this topic, is that it's just a new mindset. where you got to change it to, hey, we're actually going to win a war and not just defend ourselves, you know, because having the proper mindset is super important, right? And it's not just defending yourselves, you know, in that case. So, um, sorry, I just realized that if you guys are watching, I know there's some of you guys here. If you guys are watching, and if you are on Face or on YouTube, please let me know. It looks like it may or may not be working. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, hey, yes. Let me mute this. Make sure. Sweet, it is working. Cool. All right, it just doesn't show on my phone. So, anywho, Department of War. It's kind of interesting. I am curious how much it's going to cost, right? Because everything is labeled DoD, Department of Defense. But I think it'll be good. And yeah, as you can see in this article here, the name change revives terminology last used between 1789 to 1947. So it's quite old, you know. I do think that's interesting. 200th executive order. That's a lot, but I mean, that's kind of become the new way of getting things done, unfortunately, whether you agree with it or not. So, anywho, yeah, Department of War. That should be pretty interesting, considering everything that's happening right now, especially with things like Ukraine. You know, hopefully we don't have to step in and be a part of that, but you never know. You know, I really don't want to, but unless you absolutely have to. So, speaking of Ukraine, other topic here that I saw this week, super interesting. You know, we've talked a lot about missiles and giving Ukraine weapons and, you know, all sorts of different things, right? Super important to help them out, I guess, depending on your viewpoints on things, you know. But they actually have started creating their own uh, I think it's technically considered a long range missile. It's their own organically built, organically made missile. So it's called the Flamingo. I believe it's the FP5. So let's see. It carries a 1150 kilogram, yeah, 1150 kilogram warhead. Has a range of 3,000 kilometers, which means it can strike deep into Russian territory. And it's also designed to be resistant to electronic warfare systems like secure GPS with CRPA antennas. It successfully underwent some testing a while ago, and supposedly is now being mass produced and is seeing combat use. So the pictures in the video here are cool. We'll get to the video in just a second, but you can see here like this is pretty cool. So obviously you got the missile body, you got the wings and everything. So supposedly the engine in the back that's on the back here is from an L-39, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with L-39 Albatross is what it is. It's I want to say it's from the Czech Republic, but they used quite a bit in jet training around the world and stuff like that. So um, it's the same engine that's in this guy. So where we go here, and is that it is up in this top thing, so it should be pretty powerful and should be able to take it a long distance. Now, you can see here basically how it's going to work is it's got. I'll zoom in on this here, and then I'll show you the video after this. Stop it. Is it's got a solid rocket booster under the bottom here, and so that kind of gets it off of the rails. And after it gets off of the rails, the solid rocket booster will fall away, and then it has this L-39 engine that'll power it to its target and go from there. So speed of up to 900 kilometers per hour. Don't know what that is in freedom units. Sorry, but yeah, it's a pretty cool, pretty powerful little guy here. So let me full screen this, turn down the volume because it might get loud. I don't know. Let's see here. You can see it taking off here. Hold on. Sorry. We'll restart that. Okay, you can see it taking off here with the booster motor, right? And it kind of has a weird attitude, but that's to be expected a little bit. And then in the next shot here, you can kind of see a better, stop it, better angle of it taking off and going in. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I think there's actually, stop it, pause. I think there's actually another video too of the sustainer. Let me pull this on YouTube. Stop it. There we go. Okay. So you can kind of see that's the booster motor. You can see the booster motor fall off in a second after it's spent. Wait for it. There you go, falling off. And then you may not be able to actually see the L39 engine, but it is on right now, and it's propelling. You kind of see the smoke trail behind it. So it's a pretty cool weapon. I don't know. They haven't showed any videos of it actually hitting anything that I know of. So, but it looks like, hey, if they can generate this stuff organically, like that's a win for them. You know, I'm all for them defending themselves. You know, I want them to defend themselves, and I don't want them to be taken over by Russia for sure. But I also don't want to be spending a ton of our money sending our people to die over there, that kind of thing, you know. And I feel like a lot of people would agree with that sentiment. You know, is we want the best for them, but they also had their own issues. Ukraine has had their own issues in the past with corruption, that kind of stuff, especially with Zelensky, and unfortunately, and so it's tough because they made their choices to not, you know, have peace deals and treaties, and then they get attacked, and now they're looking for peace deals and treaties. So what are we supposed to do, you know? But speaking of peace treaties, I honestly hadn't heard anything in a while about the peace deals and the peace talks. And so let me move this over here. Oh, not that guy. I don't know what that is. There we go. And so I was curious, and this is the best I could find. They're like almost the best information that's been, you know, out there. Yeah, and there's not a whole lot, right? And this was what to excuse me. This was August 20th. So even this is what, a couple weeks ago already. So, and basically it says it's just moving fast. Yeah, surprise. Oh my gosh, I hate these ads. So yeah, surprise. It has been moving fast, or it had, but you know, it hasn't. Nothing is. I haven't heard a single thing since then. You know, since like this time frame about August 20th. You know, since the talks in Russia, and then Trump meeting with Zelensky after that. That is all I have heard. You know, nothing more. So I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with any of that. By the way, ooh, let me see here. I'll open this up. Excuse me. Did you guys see the not YouTube? Did you guys see the full video of the flyover, by the way, in Russia? I think it is hilarious. That hey, there's yes, we're live. Flyover Putin Alaska visit. There we go. This is pretty entertaining. So this is huge. I mean, first of all, B2 is flying super low, which is kind of what it was designed for in the first place, but we never used it. So this is a side video of the flyover as it's preparing to fly over Putin and Trump. I don't know if it's going to show their reactions or not, but nope, it's not. Let's see here. There we go. Maybe. There we go. I love it. Freedom. I mean, if that doesn't tell Putin, like, hey, don't mess with the US, I don't know what does. Because, uh, yeah, holy cow. That was pretty cool. I thought it was really funny, especially Putin's reaction, you know. But as far as the peace deals, like we'll go to Google here and see Russia, Ukraine peace deal. And you can see there's not a whole lot, and if there is, oh, see, this is new. Ukraine deal to end Russia's war practically impossible by Putin. Yeah, well, of course Putin's going to say that, you know. So here, this is an interesting one. I'll do this. Couldn't None of this came up yesterday when I was getting ready for today. But oh, geez, hold on, gonna sneeze. Okay. Um, so Trump says that Putin and Zelensky are not ready for peace as Europe faces pressure to step up. I think Europe faces no pressure unless they're getting attacked. They're just gonna let it ride, and it's really sad, right? And I alluded to this before. Wow, look at how much shorter Zelensky is compared to President Trump. That's pretty funny, And I think that I share a sentiment of a lot of people here in the U.S. especially is that there was a ton of corruption, in Ukraine, and I feel bad that this is affecting the Ukrainian people, right? But it's all about leadership, and Zelensky, who was an actor, mind you, if you hadn't heard that, he is incredibly corrupt, and that's publicly known. You can look that up, on Google and see that. And so they've had opportunities to join things. I don't know about NATO or the UN specifically. I think so, but I couldn't tell you for sure. And they've chosen not to because of all the corruption issues. And so now it's just frustrating when it comes time to actually need a treaty partner, you know, and now they're crying for one, and they could have got it before, unfortunately. So that is the sad truth of the situation. And so it doesn't look like in the end the peace deal is going to hold up. I do think it's funny though that Hillary Clinton said that if Donald Trump can do that, that she will personally nominate Donald Trump for the pres- uh, Medal of Medal of Freedom, something like that. The, yeah, one of those. And I kind of think she was just trolling him, but we'll see. I guess. I think I think President Trump can do it. I think he can get that deal brokered. I don't think it's going to happen right away, and I don't think anyone's going to be happy about it, right? Because I don't think Russia's going to get all the territory they want, and I don't think Ukraine's going to end up with all the territory they had to begin with. It's going to just be a matter of when enough is enough for both sides. Like when have they lost enough people, enough money, enough resources? So, yeah, I did see this article though in the U.S. Sun, which I know is a super highly respected journalism organization. Sorry, but um, basically that Russia is set to run out of anti-drone missiles in months, giving Ukraine a window of opportunity, which is kind of interesting, right? Because they use a lot of uh, anti-drone missiles because it's known that Ukraine does a lot of drone warfare with Russia, and so they know that they need these and they use them a lot. And with so many sanctions and everything on Russia, it doesn't surprise me that they're losing, all of these using all of these missiles, and that they're going to run out. So it's very interesting. I don't know what kind of missiles they're anti-drone missiles they're talking about. Short affecting Pantsir missiles, which used to shoot long range. Let's see where this link takes us. Hopefully, it's nothing. Here, let me. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna look not on you. I'm gonna look up these missiles on YouTube because I'm not familiar with the missile that they're talking about. This Pantsir missile. I'm assuming it's probably some sort of Patriot, missile or something, something like that. Maybe on a smaller scale. The versatile monster Patriot missile. Oh, Russ and Pantsir S1. Here we go. This is a good one. Talk about propaganda. Holy cow. It makes it look like... Anyhow, we'll get to it. So that's interesting radar system. Like a fire control radar system on the front there with the missiles. That guy right there. Looks like it's got AAA or something on there too. That's interesting. I think that's what that is, honestly. Okay, you're gonna shoot it? Okay, here's a target drone. Looks like.
Есть цель азимут 152, дальность 15, высота 2.
Есть цель по первому пуск разрешен.
По первому пуск.
Пуск.
Oh, interesting. Look at that. Yeah. It moves independently. Oh, that's cool. Like elevates it. Okay. Looks like a pretty simple missile, but it looks like it could be pretty effective. Let's see here. Oh yeah. AAA. Sure enough. That's pretty cool. That, alright, I'll give him that. I mean, that's pretty cool, but... Okay, so target drone to see. Looks like this is all their testing footage. Boom. Huh. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool weapon system, to be honest. That's super interesting. So I guess that's the type of missile that they're running out of. Secret palace amid kamikaze drones and satellite picture reveal. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, it looks like this is I've never seen these. These are pictures of Vlad's estate, I guess, where he stays, I would assume. So this is a Pantsir missile battery around it. What's this? Green military vehicle on top of a white structure. How did it get there? I don't know. Yep, that's the Pantsir we just saw in that video, which is a pretty cool little weapon system. Right. Yeah, I don't care about that. Palace, whatever. All right, interesting. One of Vlad's many homes. It's pretty nice. All right. So, anywho, that's enough for Russia, Ukraine. Super interesting stuff. But the other thing that I wanted to, let me close this, is see if you guys had heard this video, and then we'll talk about the video coming out, and I'll end up moving up the premiere whenever we get to it. But talk about Canada. I don't know, have you guys seen this video? This is, so we'll watch it here in a second. We can fume together about it. But this is that York Police Chief McSween, and he basically tells the public in Canada to not comply, to run and hide, and to not fight back at all, and let the police do everything. Which, oh man, is like the definition of what you need to start taking over as a government. But let's see. We'll listen to this.
The victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands. While we don't want homeowners to feel Powerless, we urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive, and be the best witness possible. This could mean locking yourself in a room away from the perpetrators, hiding, fleeing the home, but don't engage unless absolutely necessary. When we have a weekend like we just had, it's easy to understand our community is feeling unsafe. But let me say this once again, this does remain a safe place to live. And our service
Yeah, sure, it will remain a safe place to live when people aren't supposed to defend themselves and just wait for the police. Can you imagine, like, hey, don't defend yourselves, just wait for us. We will take over you. You know, it's like the ultimate thing. Like, we're the government. We're here to help. Yeah, don't listen. So, anyhow.
is doing everything possible to investigate these crimes and to maintain public safety. But as I mentioned, it is a shared responsibility, and we need the commitment of everyone in our community, including the criminal justice system, to ensure our region remains safe and secure. In closing, I'd just like to remind the public that as a police service, our top priority is the safety of all of our communities. And I know that these incidents have had a devastating impact on the families involved and the broader community.
Do you have any concerns about the fact that the Premier is saying you should stand up for yourself and you should defend yourself?
Yeah.
No, I have no concerns. The Premier can make his own statement and his own mind up about that. What I would say is, as a police service, we'll follow the laws as they're written. If the laws change, we'll change with the laws. But as it stands, we know the best defense for most people is to comply. As you've just heard, a number of...
Okay, see, that's the most frustrating. Oh, geez. Frustrating part is, just comply. That's the best thing you can do. So he kind of talked about it briefly in the beginning, and I've heard it expanded more so. Is basically he wants you to, if someone invades your house, to go hide in the corner, call the police, and wait for them to arrive. Just comply with their demands that are the invaders in your house. Do what they say, and stay alive until the police arrive. You know, you don't want to do anything. And I can understand that to a point, but for the most part, you have to defend yourself. You know, if someone's breaking into your house, are they breaking in to just say, hello, hi, how are you? Hopefully you're having a nice day. What's the weather like? No, they are there to steal your stuff, to hurt you, to assault your family, your wife, your kids, you know, and they're not just going to wait around. Oh, you called the police, I'm going to wait for them to come by. No, of course not. And so that's why this is total BS from this guy. And I mean, I get it. He's kind of bound by his laws and rules of a country, you know. But I mean, this is just insane. We're telling you, just comply, you know.
home invasion. We are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands.
And that is the problem, not to take matters into your own hands, you know. And that is what is going to be the downfall of Canadian society, and what the start of the end is. Because if you're just telling people to not comply, or to comply, to not fight back, to wait for the police, you know, I'm looking for this other video, then you know, that's the start of them trying to take away stuff, right? That's the first step to them taking away guns, to all of that. It's really unfortunate, you know. I can't find the video, unfortunately. Oh, here. Oh, this will be interesting. Oh, here. This is comments.
You should be able to protect your family. When someone's going in there to harm your family and your kids, you should use all resources you possibly can to protect your family. And maybe these criminals will think twice about breaking into someone's home.
Premier Ford, what is your response to the news that a 16-year-old boy has been released on bail after murder and attempted murder charges were stayed due to a lack of sufficient evidence?
Yep. Well, glad to know that U.S. and California isn't the only one dealing with that problem.
in connection to a mass shooting outside of Toronto High School where 2 people died in June 2024.
We should change the Young Offenders Act. I'll tell you one thing. When I was 16, and every person in this room, when they're 16, they're smart enough to know if you grab a gun and start shooting the neighborhood up or shooting people and you kill them, you should be in jail. That's one thing I got a pet peeve about. The criminal code is controlled by the federal government. You know, and we have to start holding people accountable because these young kids are running around and they're kids 16 to 18 years old, breaking into homes. You heard about that one family, 8 people showed up to their home and they pistol whipped the father. The mother had the 1-year-old begging that they don't touch them, ripping the rings off. You know, this is just out of control now here. People have to be held accountable.
And especially when the police chief is telling you to just comply, it's going to encourage that kind of behavior. So I'm thankful that at least he is stepping up. The premier is some sort of politician, I'm not sure, to be honest. But at least he is stepping up and telling people to try.
And then, once I'm on a roll now, everyone hear about the story in Lindsay? So this criminal that's wanted by the police breaks into this guy's house. This guy gives him a beating, and this guy gets charged. And the other guy gets charged. But, something is broken. I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life. This guy has a weapon. You're going to use any force you possibly can to protect your family. I'm telling you, I know everyone would. Because, enough's enough here. And guess what? Some bleeding heart judge, little Johnny, he didn't have a good upbringing. So we're going to let him out on bail 5 more times because he's on his 5th, being let out on bail 5 times just to go do the same thing the next day. I'll tell you one thing. I don't
know why I lost the audio there on it. But anywho, so that's the premier. He is actually really awesome, and I'm thankful for that because it shows a lot. It's insane, and that's the beginning. Is they've already taken away guns for the most part, right? You can have I think a shotgun in your house to go hunting, and that's about it. There's no, I could be completely wrong here, but as far as I understand, at least, is that they don't want people to have guns. They don't want people to have pistols. Like AR-15s are very much illegal, So it is interesting to say the least, Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, Canada is definitely a socialist society, and they are taking away guns. I mean, we saw this coming, right? Here in America, at least, we're going to take away your guns. So just trust us, the government, to deal with it. Trust us. Don't fight. We will take care of it. We will protect you. Hey, we're here from the government, and we're here to help, right? That you should run away every time someone says that. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And it's unfortunate, but that's the state that we're in with a lot of these things. Unfortunately, is that's if the Democrats had their way in the U.S., you can tell by any time after a mass shooting here, it's not about the person, it's not about the mentally ill people that are doing the shootings. It is about the weapon that they're using and making an effort to ban those weapons, even though it has nothing to do with the weapon and everything to do with the people. And they would love anything, they would love it to be able to take away your guns, because that is the first step in trying to control people. And you can see that happening a couple steps in advance in Canada, right? They are trying to control people. They are taking away their guns, and they're telling people to just let us deal with it, right? And unfortunately, that goes down a rabbit hole very quickly. In a perfect world with perfect people, it would work great, right? We would have zero problems. Unfortunately, this world is fallen. There's evil, and it's not going to go well at all. So, yeah, it's just unfortunate that that's where we're at. Anywho, so the other thing, and I'm just getting this queued up here on the other screen here, that I wanted here today, and I will move up this premiere, is, I think if I can, edit premiere. No, hold on. I'm pretty excited about this video that I made here, and I'll do it for 7:45. How about that? I made a video because we, you know, I wouldn't call us like crazy preppers or anything, but okay, yep. Thank you. I wouldn't call us crazy preppers, but we do have a stash that we, have, and it can be expensive to start off with. We just kind of get little bits here and there, thankfully. There's some funny videos, but don't actually start the stream. Thank you. There we go. Okay, we'll get this for when it's ready. We're gonna watch this as soon as it gets started. But I made this video because basically we wanted a way to let people know you can get started on a stash for cheap, and you can do this for under 20 bucks. You can get a few days worth of supply of food from something like Dollar Tree or Dollar Store. Unfortunately, they're no longer a dollar, it's $1.25 or $1.50. So we started with 20 bucks to see what we could get out of the out of that. And I was honestly, someone came through. I was honestly pretty surprised at all of what you could find for 20 bucks, So I think we got a lot of good stuff out of it though, I was pretty impressed by what we could get. So in this video, we'll start with 20 bucks. We go into Dollar Tree, me and Pilot, my service dog, and see what we could get in Dollar Tree. And we really tried to focus on the staples and see exactly what we could do. So when this premieres here in just under a minute, I'll full screen it, and we can listen in and watch. It's only, I want to say like 7 or 8 minutes, and then we'll talk some more afterwards. If you have any questions during the video, please put them in the comments, and we will talk to them as soon as the video is over for sure. I don't know what that means. Top fans. Okay. So yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. I thought it was interesting, and I hope that you guys find it interesting as well too, because it was kind of cool. It was kind of a good project. So although Dollar Tree is a disaster inside, it's a mess. Holy cow. There's junk everywhere, stuff on the floors. It's unfortunate. So all right, we'll get this started here. Maybe begin shortly. So I'm assuming it was going to start, and it's not yet. So it'll start here in just a second. Sorry about the. I don't even know how to get rid of that. Sorry. There's spammers on some of the platforms. Figures. But anyway, I highly recommend everyone at least doing this. Even if you can't go out and spend a ton of money on a bunch of food, you should at least get some food, through a method like this, through Dollar Tree, because you never know when even just something small is going to happen that you might need a little bit of food for, here we go. Cool. Oh, I forgot. Okay. It's going to do this intro for a few minutes. So I'll hang out and keep that in the background for a minute. It's going to wait for people to show up, to be all dramatic and stuff. I forgot that it did that. So Yeah, so things you really want to start off with, we'll talk about that while we're waiting for this to come in here in a few minutes. So when you start off a stash like this, we'll talk about really a lot of the basics. You want to stock up on things that are going to last the longest, you know. So what are the shelf stable foods that are going to last you the longest, you know? You got to think of things like dried beans, rice, you know, things that are going to last. Um, your canned foods will typically only last, you know, a year, excuse me, a year to 2 years to 3 years, depending on how it was canned and processed, right? So, excuse me. And so while those are important to get because there's a lot of things you can get in canned foods that you can't get in dried foods, I would focus on the dried foods more than the canned, you know. But with that being said, when you do get canned foods, especially like your vegetables, your fruits, you know, make sure to cycle them out. I think a lot of people forget that. You need to cycle out your food. So say you get, you know, 10 cans of I don't know what, green beans in January of 25, right? And they're good for 2 years. Well, you get 10 more cans in December of 25 before they're bad in a year and then use those old 10 cans throughout the year. You know what I mean? So that way you keep the stuff that you have saved fresh enough to use in an emergency situation. Now, what do you really need in an emergency situation, right? I would say, oh, that's an interesting question. For the most part, probably a few days worth of supplies, right? You get the people who are going to go full out and say, hey, you know, it's the world is ending, you know, massive societal collapse, and you need food to last for years, right? Unfortunately, that's just not a possibility for a lot of us, right? We don't have the space, the resources, the this and then that to do that, right? And the possibility of that happening is very, very remote, you know. So well, if you want to do that, then more power to you, you know. I will applaud you for doing that, you know, but I think really what we need to focus on is creating an emergency supply for local events that can happen, right? So in our case here in California, it would be for it'd be for things like an earthquake. So say we had an earthquake, and if you're on city water and you don't have city water for a few days, what are you going to do? If you did have gas and now you don't, what are you going to do? If you can't go to the grocery store because they're not open, what are you going to do? You know, and so I think the most realistic food stash that you should have is to have enough food for your family for, you know, a week or two. You know, I think that's the most realistic and reasonable thing that you can do. Um, the other thing that a lot of people don't think of is the other things, the other stuff, right? Is the medicine for one, right? Like we have our daughter Nora is on some medicine, you know, and we've had other things in the past for dogs and things like that. And make sure you have a little bit of extra medicine, right? Like they don't let you, you know, stockpile medicine, obviously, but if you end up with a little bit of extra, like a week or two's worth, then try and keep that, you know, because you never know when that could come in handy. So, anywho, I think it's starting now. Maybe. Yeah.
Are you wanting to start a prepper food stash, but don't have a ton of money to start a cave cellar stocked with Kobe beef? We have been slowly starting a stash of food just in case this stuff hits the fan. So we are prepared for our family with food, formula, and supplies. We know it can be intimidating and look expensive, but it doesn't have to be. So we're going to start a stash for under $20 at Dollar Tree today, and so can you. But can we actually get a decent haul and a starter stash for under 20 bucks? Well, stick around to the end and see the final total. Alrighty, so to get started, one of the first things that you will definitely need as we get going here is storage bags. These are actually a really good deal for $1.25. You get 40 of these sandwich bags that are double locking mechanism things. This is great because you can store used food, you can store items. If it's wet, you can keep things dry, and they're super useful and should be a part of anyone's stash. The next one up here is protein. Protein is huge in an emergency situation. So here we have some nice albacore tuna in water. This stuff is also non-GMO, which is huge. I know it's fish, it should be non-GMO, but you never know. And this is important because protein is super important in an emergency situation. It may not be the tastiest, but it'll get the job done. This little can for $1.25 has a ton of calories and a ton of protein, which is what you need. And so I'm gonna pick up a can of this. So this is a steal here, mackerel in brine. This is a 10-ounce can, and you can't beat the amount of protein and sodium and all sorts of goodness and calories. 320 calories and upwards of 30 some grams of protein in the entire can. So this is a steal for $1.25. You just can't beat it. You cannot pass up deals like this where you get this much protein for this cheap. All these cans, the other thing that I highly recommend people always stock up on is diced tomatoes. In this case, this is a can of organic, no salt added, so it's perfect for our stash. These things you can use in
Protein is so important, by the way.
like pasta sauces. You can just eat them with a little bit of salt. They have a lot of good calories, a lot of vitamins, and not a ton of added salt. So they're good, and we're gonna keep this one in our box. The other thing to not overlook is fruit. This is a steal here again. We're finding some good ones today for $1.25, obviously Dollar Tree, for some pineapple tidbits or pineapple bits. This it can actually be really helpful because it's got a lot of sugar in it, but in a good way. And it's as healthy sugar as you're gonna get in a survival situation without fresh fruit. It's also a huge can, so it's a good deal for this amount of fruit in this size of can. So definitely grab this one. In addition to your fruits, the other thing you want to look for is vegetables. And in this case, I got my eye on these green beans right here in the corner here. It's not the biggest can, but it has a lot of punch in terms of vitamins. Green beans are a great source of vitamins and minerals in an emergency situation. And so I highly recommend if you can stock up on these. These are always a good find and always good to have in your pantry. And they can be used in a lot of different ways. You can eat them plain, on things, whatever you need or can do. The other thing, yep, top ramen. This was a little bit more, $1.50 instead of $1.25, but this is 5 meals right here. It does have a lot of sodium, so you may or may not want that depending on the situation, but it's got 5 bags of soup of ramen. So it's a steal. That lets it, about like 30 cents, I think exactly 30 cents
Ramen
for
is
each
awesome.
bowl of soup. And that's exactly what you want in this type of situation for this type of haul. So make sure to grab that 5-pack. The other thing we want to look for is a good bean, rice type of thing. There was no rice, but I did find this deal of some red kidney beans. A 12-ounce bag, not huge, not tiny, but it will definitely help in this scenario. It's got a lot of calories, a lot of vitamins, a lot of carbs. Beans are good. The only thing is they do take a lot of water and they do take time. But we still need them. They're still a good source. They're light. They don't take up a lot of weight. So I highly recommend everyone stock up on all sorts of beans. In this case, the kidney beans were a really good choice. The other option that is a really good deal here is, and usually always is, pasta. I got this huge box of rotini for only $1.25. This thing will make multiple meals for, probably I'd say 8 servings or so of food if you let it stretch. And it's a good deal. It's a great value for what you can get for it. Now, along with that, you want a sauce. In this case, if you have a choice between a meat sauce and a non-meat sauce, obviously get the meat because it does provide more protein, and protein is king in an emergency situation. You always need protein. Find ways like this to eat it as much as you can. So I went ahead and grabbed this large can of meat pasta sauce as well. The other thing here that's a little overlooked sometimes is these hash brown potatoes. These things are super easy and quick. All you do is you add water to this little box container thing here, add some hot water, you shake it up, and then you can pour out these pre-cooked, nicely made, easy to make potato hash brown things. They're super quick, super easy, lots of good carbs. Highly recommend everyone have some of these in your stash. We've had them before even we started doing Dollar Tree. The other thing that we got here that's sometimes overlooked is hot sauce. They actually had 2 kinds of Texas Pete here. They had this garlic hot sauce as well as an original, and I definitely like the original, so I went with that instead. But for $1.25, this can help spice up some of those really bland meals like those beans or potatoes and make them a lot more palatable so you can get a lot more food and calories in. So highly recommend you get a bottle of this hot sauce if they have some, usually whatever the best deal is that you can get. They had some buffalo sauce, but I don't like the buffalo stuff. I went with Texas Pete, the standard, instead. Also, just keep an eye out for other things that you can use. We have plenty of flour already, but this bag of 2-pound bag of flour is only $1.25, which is a pretty good deal considering. So if you do need flour, make sure to keep an eye out for items like this and sugar if you will need it in the future for your stash. Just keep on a lookout for certain things though. This looks like a great deal. Hungry Jack pancake and waffle mix, right? You think it's a lot of food, $1.25, it's a good deal. You can get a lot of calories and everything in it, but there's one big but here, and I'll show you on the label. You need to look at labels all the time because of this right here. Look in the label, it says contains a bioengineered food ingredient, so a GMO, which is a whole nother topic. I'll link the video up here. I did on that before, but make sure to keep an eye on that and don't get those items. The other thing that you could add to your stash that could be super valuable and keep spirits up and keep, you know, some sugar in your diet, which is sometimes lacking in these situations, is some candy. For $1.25, you can get a few of these different options, whether these mints, these strawberry things, or some of the peppermint ones. I went with these strawberry guys because they're nostalgic and they're really good, but $1.25, you can have a little bit of dessert, a little bit of sugar that can kind of really raise your spirits in a bad situation. Also, keep an eye out for deals on things like crackers. In this case, I got some saltines because good deal. It's not a huge box, but in this case, this will be helpful. It does have add some sodium to your diet. It can add some carbs and some crackers, kind of some stuffing to your food to make you feel fuller, and it can usually help out quite a bit if you can get stuff like this. The other thing you want to take a look for, we didn't have a whole lot of options here today in the drink section, was like jars of drink mix. Usually you can find like some Tang or some lemonade or something like that. The only thing we could find were these Pure Kicks, and they're kind of like a Crystal Light type drink. You get like 6 packets in here. They have a lot of vitamins and minerals and can be helpful to keep you hydrated in an emergency situation. It's just not a lot of them. So keep that in mind. Preferably the tub of stuff would be better, but you can get those if needed. So we got our haul from Dollar Tree in our 2 bags here, and we're gonna head back home and total it all up and see if we made it under 20. So I think that was a pretty decent stash that we got today. In the end, the total with tax, for some reason, I don't understand that it had tax, but it was $19.53. So we made it under the $20 goal. And I think we made it out with quite a bit of useful items that will help us last in case of an emergency. With this little $20 stash, it could last probably 1 to 2 people, 3 or 4 days-ish if you made it last. So you can start doing this every week and start gathering more and more stuff until you get a decent stash, and then just make sure to rotate it. So use the older stuff and get newer stuff as you can to make sure it's fresh if you need it, because while this is shelf-stable stuff, it does not last forever. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or you love this video, put them down below. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say and help you guys out with your stash and your prepper stuff in the future. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Well, yeah. So I I was actually pretty impressed with all that we could find for that $20. So that stuff we'll keep and we will use in our prepper stash for sure. So that will pretty much do it for today here. So I'm going to plan on doing this at least once every couple weeks, if not every week here at 7 a.m. to try and keep you guys updated on interesting things that have happened in the world that I find interesting from my point of view in terms of prepper being ready, keep an eye on world events, things that are going to affect us, like the AB84 stuff, So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, or if you're watching on, we stream this on Twitch as well, make sure you are subscribed there, so you can be notified when we do go live again. We might do pop-ups during the week, but plan for the most part on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. That seems to be the easiest that we can do on a regular basis. So we truly appreciate everything, you guys. We thank you for joining us. I know there's a couple of y'all who have been here the whole time, so we appreciate it. And if there's anything that we can do in the future that you guys would love to see us do a video on, would love mentioned in these lives every week, please put them in the comments below, either on YouTube or on Twitch, and we will work to get that into the episode. So thank you guys so much. We truly appreciate it, and we will catch you guys on the next one.